This morning we spoke about a Paladika parish on Nedarim Daf Samech Daled Amud Beis. There's a parish that says that a person who davens, but davens at home, they don't daven in shul, what will happen to that person? So the Torah says that if a person brings a carbon outside of the Ohel Moed, it's like he's bringing a carbon to a demon. That's what the Torah says. Now, where does the Torah say that? The Torah says in an Achrei Mot. We have a parish that compares tefillah to karbanos. I mean, he just gets it from the Gemara. So he says, so too, if a person davens not in shul, it's like they brought a carbon to a demon, and he says, in the Mela, they're going to lose all their money. Not only that, their children, God forbid, will die young, along with other things. Now, okay, so, Dovi, this is a tremendous kasha, right? Because a lot of people daven at home.
What about me?
Right, Dovi davens at home. What about women? They'll daven at home. But not only that, he says something even more. He says, and every single truthful person could tell you this. That everybody knows it. Okay, that's even stranger. And then he tells you something even stranger. He says, any trustworthy person could tell you this. And the question really is, what in the world is going on here? Where does he get this from?
Could be he only means like grown-ups.
Okay, but even that.
Most kids daven at school.
Okay, so Lamaisa, because of that was a very scary thing to see something like that. So I was careful this evening. I was careful to daven in shul. I davened also with Tzibor, but he's talking about not just with a minyan. Even if there's no minyan at all, he said there's people who will tell you, even learned people, you ask them, why did you not daven in shul? And they'll tell you, because there was no minyan. Why should I go to shul if there's no minyan? And he said, but no, that's people like that. That means they never learned these psukim. They never learned about any of this. So, because this is so difficult to understand, we're going to start from the very beginning of the sugya here. We're going to start from Daf Samech Daled Amud Beis in Masechet Nedarim, and maybe we'll get somewhere. I mean, another question you could ask is, what if you could daven at a minyan, but the minyan's at someone's house? Or you could daven in a shul, and there's no minyan. So, according to what we said, you should daven in the shul without a minyan. Don't go to the person's house with a minyan. So, we have to figure out what in the world is going on. So the Gemara mentioned that an ani is considered like a dead person. Someone who doesn't have any money, the Torah considers him like he said. And Dovi, you probably know it because when Esav sent his son to go kill Yaakov, when Eliphaz came to kill Yaakov, what did Eliphaz do?
He took all his money.
Right, why did he take all his money?
First of all, because the Torah considers it that we actually went down to school. And also, to prove it to Asa that he killed him, will bring all the money back. So he'll be like, look, I killed him.
Okay. So we see that someone who's an ani, we see the Torah considers it as if he's dead.
I heard a story about a big tzaddik, and his wife really wanted him to work so that he got money, and they had no money, and they had like 10 children. And then one day, something in the mail said they had to go somewhere, and they said that someone died and he had no children, so they're giving you $10,000.
Very nice. So he had bitachon, and in tzchus the bitachon, they got money. Right? That's how it goes. It says here, "Ve'od amar Rabbi Elazar poschim b'nolod." The chachamim asers. Okay, Dovi, hope you're not going. V'tamim mishum shanoy der savar shel yavo davar zeh v'filo. Okay, now, my time at Rabbi Eliezer, Amar Rav Chisda, the Amar Kra, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe b'Midyan. Hashem said to Moshe in Midyan, Lech shu Mitzrayim. Go and return to Mitzrayim. Okay, who remembers Hashem saying that? Hashem said, go and return to Mitzrayim. Why? Ki mesu kol ha'anashim. Because all of those men have died. Now, Hashem said this was in Perek Dalid, Pasuk Yutes, Sefer Shmot. So we're going to take a look at it. Who was Moshe running away from? Moshe ran away from Paro. Why did Paro want to kill him? Paro wanted to kill Moshe because Moshe is the one who killed that Egyptian.
And it wasn't just any Egyptian, it was the Egyptian that did that whole plan.
It said Moshe leaves Midian. This is what happened. Moshe left and returned to his father-in-law Yisro. He said, I would like to leave and return to my people in Egypt to see if they're still alive. Now, why did Moshe want to leave? What really happened? This was right after the burning bush. So he wanted to leave because Hashem told him, you have to go. Now, apparently he didn't tell Yisro about this whole episode, but he asked his father-in-law permission before he went. So we see that a certain amount of derech eretz. At this point, actually, Yisro is called Yeser. He's called Yeser because the Vav wasn't added yet. Some say after he converted, the Vav got added. Actually, already at the end of the pasuk, it's calling him Yisro. It says, Lech l'shalom, go in peace. While Moshe was still in Midian, Hashem said to him, go return to Egypt. All the men who seek your life have died. That's what Hashem said. Shuv Mitzrayim, ki meisu kol ha'anashim havakshim es nafshecha. They have all died. All the people that wanted to kill you.
They kind of weren't dead actually. Not just they were poor, but they were getting whipped 487,000 times.
Okay. So now a question is, Umadua hutzrach litin lotam levakchaso. Why was it necessary for Hashem to give Moshe a reason for his request? Why did Hashem could have just said, Moshe, go to Mitzrayim? Why did Hashem have to give Moshe a reason, go to Mitzrayim? Because the people that wanted to kill you, they've died. Ki mesu, why did he have to give him this reason? Ki mesu kol anashim. Ela lafisha nishba Moshe sheyeshiv etzel Yisro chama v'midyan. But the reason perhaps is that Moshe swore that he would stay by Yisro, his father-in-law in Midian. Ki haya yare. Why did he do that? Because he was scared lachzol in Mitzrayim. Moshe was scared to go back to Mitzrayim Hipnei soinov, because of those that hated him. Shahayim evakshim es nafshu. They wanted to kill him. Uksha amar Hashem LaMoshe. And when Hashem said to Moshe, Sheyishu Mitzrayim, he should return to Mitzrayim. Pasach lo Pesach lenedro. At this point, there was a Pesach for his neder. So here's the thing about a neder. When a person makes a neder, so they have to do what they say they're going to do. But there's something called a Pesach to the neder. And that means that if I would have known that such and such was the case, I never would have made the neder. And with that, you're able to uproot the neder. So if Moshe would have known that at a certain point, nobody's going to want to kill him anymore, then Moshe never would have made the neder to Yisro. So Hashem had to tell him this piece of information so that he's able to uproot the neder. I mean, really, you could ask the following question, though. You could say, if I would have known that Hashem was going to give me prophecy to go to Mitzrayim, I also never would have made the neder. Okay, but fine. But Hashem says, Ki meisi kol anashim havakshim es nafshecha. What's the Pesach in the neder? What's the opening to the neder? What's the way out of the neder? Hashem tells them, because all the people that wanted to kill you, they died. Shilohayu yodeh Moshe b'shas nedro. That means if Moshe would have known at the time he made the neder, Shiamusu elu lo hayanoder. If he would have known that these people were going to die, he never would have made such a neder. Mikan lamad Rabbi Eliezer sheposchen af bin noilad. And from here, Rabbi Eliezer teaches us that a Pesach works even by a nolad, even by something that it didn't exist. The truth is, these people were not dead at the time Moshe made a neder, but they became dead. Okay, now, this is part of the Gemara in Masechet Nedarim, and it's not necessary to understand this in order to understand the topic we're going to be talking about. But we're going to go, we brought up Misa over here, and the Gemara is going to continue. We're going to get into exactly what we wanted to talk about. V'ham Misa de Noladu. The Imkein Haich Pesach Hashem LaMoshe Es Neder B'Nolad Zeh. Misa's Nolad. So it's something which wasn't there before. Now it is there. So how could this be a Pesach? We hear from this that a Pesach works even by something which is a Nolad. Okay. Miksha Gemara. The Gemara asks, since Rabbi Eliezer learns from a pasuk that a Pesach of a Nolad works, for Rabbanan Maita Mayu. So the Rabbanan hold apparently that the Pesach of a Nolad doesn't work. Well, what's the Rabbanan's reason? The pasuk seems to prove the Rabbanan wrong. This pasuk seems to indicate that Nolad does work. Otherwise, why did Hashem tell Moshe the reason? Why did Hashem have to tell Moshe that go back to Mitzrayim because these people have died? So the Gemara answers, Kisvari, the Rabbanan hold, she'ein neha pasuk raya sheposkim b'nolad, v'she'ein lefarish ki meisa kol anashim kipshuto shemeisa mamish. They hold, no. They didn't die. The Rabbanan say, you think they died? They didn't die. When Hashem said, go back because they died, it doesn't mean they died. Because it can't be they died. Because Hanu keep mi maisi v'chiyim anashim. Did they really die? Rabbi Yochanan said in the name Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Kol Makom Shne'emar B'Torah Lashon Nitzim v'Nitzavim. Any time in the Torah when it says Nitzim and Nitzavim and it doesn't explain who was Nitzim and Nitzavim, Einon Ela Dasan v'Aviram. Whenever the Torah says that, it's referring to Dasan and Aviram. V'Nimtzana comes out. Shehem hayu elu, those were the people. Dasan and Aviram were the ones. Shebakshu es nafshu shel Moshe. It was Dasan and Aviram that wanted to kill Moshe. We know they didn't die. It can't be they died. How do we know Dasan and Aviram didn't die?
Because when he came back there, they were fighting, and he said...
And they were in the Midbar. They were causing trouble for 40 years. They were causing trouble. Maybe they died by Korach. But they were collecting the man. They were constantly causing problems. They were the two troublemakers. Over here we're talking about before Yetzias Mitzrayim. They were the two troublemakers. I know we have a Masorah from Moshe Shapiro, says Rabbi Berger, that in every Kehillah there will always be two troublemakers. So he said. Rabbi Berger said that every year he tried to get the best Bachrim, but every year there were always two Bachrim that went bad, whatever that means. And he felt and he felt very bad for the parents. So he decided that next year he's going to accept two troublemakers from the beginning. Everyone else will be a good Bachar, and therefore nobody will go bad. And that's what happened. He said he never had an issue ever again. Because there always has to be two troublemakers. I don't know what that means. But we have fine. There always has to be a Dasan and an Aviram in every Kehillah, and the Kehillah is 10. Like the Meraglim, by the Meraglim, you have two non-troublemakers. You have Yeshua and Kalev. Okay.
They said all the good stuff about it.
V'nimtza comes out, shehem hayu elu shebakshus nafshu shel Moshe, k'mo shnemar, vayetz, it says, Perek Beis, Yud Gimel through Dasva, vayetz Moshe b'yom hasheni, Moshe went out on Yom Hasheni on Monday, v'hinei shnei anashim ivrim nitzim. These two Jewish men were nitzim, which we normally translate to mean standing. Vayomer l'Rasha, and he said to the Rasha, Lama sakarei echa, why do you pick up your hand to hit your friend? So apparently there's some type of a Masorah, a Chazal that says, whenever it says Nitzim, it's referring to Dasan and Aviram. Vayomer mi samcha, and that person said to Moshe, who placed you a taskmaster over us? Harhargeni ata imar ka'asher harakta es ha-Mitzri. Do you want to kill us the same way you killed the Mitzri? Meaning, before this incident, Moshe also killed the Mitzri. Vayira Moshe became scared, and we know that Moshe realized at that point that the matter became known, that he killed the Mitzri. That part became known. Vayishma Paro as a davar hazeh. Paro heard about this. Shahalchu elu hashanim v'siprolo, because these two people went and they told Paro about it. Vayevakesh laharo against Moshe, and Paro wanted to kill Moshe. Moshe grew up in Paro's palace. The Paro wanted to kill Moshe. Vayivrach Moshe b'bnei Paro. Moshe ran away from Paro. Vayesha be'eretz Midian, and he dwelled in the land of Midian.
What happened before
Yeah.
he killed that Mitzri? Pharaoh didn't want to kill him.
Before he killed the Mitzri, right. I don't think Paro wanted to kill him. And since it was apparent that these people wanted to kill him, how could Hashem say to Moshe, all the people that wanted to kill you died? That they made. How could Hashem say that? Dasan and Aviram, they were still alive. They were still living up until Korach. The rock Sham Nivlu Chaim, only then did the earth open up and swallow them. It comes out, we can't explain the pasuk like the pasuk shot. Ella Amar Reish Lakish, but Reish Lakish says, Ki Mesu, the kavana is Sheyardu, Dasan Aviram min Chasayim. Dasan and Aviram lost all of their property. That's what it means. And for this reason, the pasuk considers it like they're dead, since an ani is considered like a mace. And once they're poor, Kvar ein dvarehem nishmaim leparo. Paro is no longer going to listen to them. So when people have a lot of money, they have a lot of influence. People listen to them. For some reason, people listen to them. They have a lot of money. But once the person loses all of their money, nobody's going to listen to them. Paro won't listen to them. Ve'ein malach shoshmem, and therefore he doesn't have to be worried about them. Ve'af al pi shiyardim min chasayim la'achar shvuaso ein lepesach zed din no lad kevin sh'anius mitzuya. And even though they lost all their money, so the question would be still, so the Rabbanan should hold this is a Pesach in the Neder. Because this is not a Pesach of Dinolad, since this type of poverty is common. That's not a Pesach. That's not a Pesach means that at the time you made the Neder, there was something that you were not aware about, or something happened that you were not aware about. But it's well known this could happen to anybody, so that's not considered a case of Nolad. So, okay, now, Amar of Yeshua, then Levi of Yeshua says, Kol Adam she'en lo banim chashuv kimes. Anyone who has no sons is considered like a mace. Shnemar, as it says in Bereshis, Perek Lamed Aleph, Vatera Rachel kilo yalda Yaakov. So over here, when it means sons, it's referring to children apparently, any children, even a daughter. Rachel saw that she did not give birth to any children for Yaakov. Vatekane Rachel ba'achosa. Rachel was jealous at her sister. Vatomer el Yaakov, and she said to Yaakov, Havali banim v'im ein ani mas mesa anochi. If I don't have children, it's like I'm dead. Now, a person could ask a very strong question over here. You could say, listen, it's only by Rachel's case where she's considered like dead, because she has this sister Leah who's living in the same house, who's constantly having children. So in her case, if she doesn't have children, it's like she's dead. But what about a regular case? How could you prove from Rachel's case to a regular case? So, I don't know if we're going to ask that or not. And even if we do, let's see. It could be, he asks it over here. It says, Ve'ein lomar shemash amar v'min mesa. Do not tell me this that she said, if I have none, it's like she died. The kavana is to say, she imos machmas star. she'amaves amachmas tsar v'la'olam eina chashuva k'meis. But really, normally it's not. She would not be considered a mace. Don't tell me only here she's a mace because of the tsar. I guess like what we were saying, because there's Leah, but normally she's not a mace. Shim came because if that was true, ayakasu v'im ein amos aval mesa hu sham toyer v'lo davar sheyikra im yihi akach v'chach v'hainu she'amra v'im ein hareini chashuva kemesa. She said basically pretty explicitly, it all has to do with the children. It doesn't have to do with Leah. She said havali banim v'im ein. If I have no children, mesa anochi. It's not connected to Leah. The Tanya, we learn in Rabbisa, arba chashuvin kemes. There are 4 people that are considered like they're dead. Here's the 4. Ani, a poor person. A mitzaira, someone who has tzaras. A suma, a blind person. Umi she'ein lo banim. The 4th one is one who doesn't have children. And all of this is learned out from Psukim. Ani, how do we know an ani? The chsiv ki mesu kol hanashim. So we just learned it because Hashem told Moshe all the people that wanted to kill you have died, and yet we know they didn't die; just they became an ani. Okay, Mitzayra. How do we know Mitzayra? Because it's written Aharon and Moshe at the time that Miriam was stricken with tzaras. It says Al Nasihi Kames. So we see from there that a tzaras is like a mace. How do we know about a blind person? So it says in Eicha, b'machashkim hoshivani. Yirmiyahu Hanavi compared himself after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash to one. Yirmiyahu was a Navi, and he was the main Navi, Hanavi, and he said when he compared himself to be sitting in the dark, and he's not able to see, and he said Kimese Olam, he's like a dead person because of that. Umisha in Lobanim, how do we know one who doesn't have children? So that we already said that we know from Rachel. Okay, now with that in mind, we now take a look at this Peladika thing in the back over here. So we're learning the Masifta. I always want to make sure that it doesn't run out of memory or anything. So we go to the Penine Halacha, and it would be wonderful. We have a lot of wonderful topics here. One topic is you lost both rounds of dodgeball. We're going to see if we could find it in the Parsha. I bet we could. We have one of them is having a snake and a dog. The halachas of are you allowed to do it? So much stuff here. Revealing a secret by writing, saying over. There's a lot of interesting stuff over here. Having a black man marry a white woman. I don't know what the problem would be over there. That's another topic. So somewhere we come across, we have to go to the Samech Daled. Samech Daled Amid Beis. And we have it over here. The topic is called Ketzad Lihinatzel Me'aniyas. How could a person save himself from poverty? Besugyon in our Gemara, Mevur, we explain Sha'ani Chashuv Kemes, that an Ani, a poor person, is considered like he's dead. Right, Dovi? We just said that. What did we say? Dovi, tell me what we said. An Ani. Right. V'hinei b'sefer derech Moshe shebesof sefer Hagan. So apparently, at the end of Sefer Hagan, there's a sefer called Derech Moshe. Now, I don't know why it's found over there, but it's found over there. So Kosav, it's written, Yismach HaKahal, happy is the congregation. Vayagel Hayachid, and happy is the individual. Asher Yatu Ozlam Lishmoa, who bends his ear to listen. B'kol Divrei, or it could be in the voice of Dvarai, my words. Ba'asher, when Ba'asher Shin Reish Ayin Hey Rashi Tevos. What does that stand for? I mean, usually something like this would mean happy is the person who listens to Musar. But we're saying over here, happy is the Kehila, and happy is the individual. The Musar we're about to speak about is davening and shul. But he's saying happy is the person who bends his ear to listen in the voice of Divrei Dvarai, Ba'asher Shin Reish Ayin Hey. Okay? When something. Now, here we go. This is what he's saying. Ra'isi, I have seen. Now we have to look up to see who is the Derech Moshe. And if I was able to read its smaller print of where it could be found. But Ra'isi es b'nei imanu. I have found people amongst us Ba'avonosenu harabim, in the great Averos, which that terminology is used a lot in Yeridas Hadoros, as we go further from Har Sinai and our Gullus gets longer and longer, our Averos seem to intensify. We have more and more Averos. So in our great Averos, in our Sha'agolus miskaber holech the ein kates the arichos, that the exile is continuously strengthening and there's no end to its length. At least that's what it feels like to us. It just keeps going and going and going. And he's going to speak about what's going on here. What exactly are we doing wrong? Now we know every year by Tisha B'Av, this really comes out. We speak about Sinas Chinam. We speak about that's the problem. And if you would get rid of Sinas Chinam, hatred for no reason, then the Beis Hamikdash should be rebuilt. But he's going to take a different mahalach over here. He's going to take a different approach. Okay, V'rayone al mishkevi saliko al ma asa Hashem, and kachalanu halolamim yisnach Hashem chas v'shalom. So I'm not exactly sure how to translate all of that. I'm almost exactly sure, but it's not so relevant to what we're going to be doing now. Ein zos rak avor shetfilas. The only reason why this is happening, why is all this happening? Why do we not have a Beis Hamikdash? Why is there no Mashiach? Why is there so much anti-Semitism? All these things that have happened. Einam mikubelas tifnei kodesh baruch hu ba'avonosenu harabim mash anu mispalim b'chol yom sheyigal asanu. How could it be? Every single day we daven to Hashem, may He redeem us. We daven for a geula every single day. How could it be that it's not makubal? It's not accepted. The ain kol, the ain oina. There's no answer and there's no sound. I would say Hashem is answering, but okay, he's saying there's no answer. It feels like to him that there's no response. We'd have to look up to see the time period that he was living in. But he's saying we daven every day that Hashem should bring us a geula, and there's no response. V'gamarti b'libi la'niyas daiti, and in his heart he came up with an answer. He came up with one avera. He said, "This is the avera that causes shezeh ha'avon goyrim sherov ha'olam nichshalim." In this avera, the majority of the world stumbles upon. Yeah. Og? Well, we have to figure out where Og got buried. We'll figure it out soon. The majority of the world, the majority of the Jewish world stumbles upon this, the following Avera. Now, I already said from the beginning what the Avera is, which I didn't even know it was an Avera. But the Ein Yishar Lispal Bebeis HaKnesses. The problem is people are not careful to daven in a shul. It's necessary for a person to be careful to always go to a shul to daven. Afilu im ein minyan be'iro, even if there's no minyan in his city. Yeah, Dovi? So he's going to include, later on he's going to include a makom kavua as a shul, which a makom kavua, a set place. So if you have a set, so if there's a set place in the house, like here we have a little stender here, if this becomes a set place, which originally that was really the plan when there was those bricks or whatever. The plan was to make this the makom for tefillah. This becomes like a miniature Beis Knesses. Originally, the plan was to do it downstairs, but that wasn't practical. So the plan is really to do it here. So it could be, it sounded like at the end of the day, this would be considered fine. Like Gramps, he always has a set place. He's always had a set place all his life. In the beginning, though, it sounds like even this may not work, but
This picture over there, and this picture over here.
so if that picture is gonna, I don't think you're allowed to daven in front of a picture, but if the picture is gonna help people know, like there's pictures here, so if somehow usually there's like a Mizrach sign, but
Like that, except for that.
yeah, right. Except Mizrach is this way. Mizrach is this way. So this is where the place should be.
What about this one?
That way is not. That's why when we by L'chadodi we turn that way for Boy V'Shalom, because we turn west to welcome in the Shabbos Queen, because the sun sets in the west, the sun rises in the east. Hey, so now.
Meaning it goes like, for us, the sun goes like that.
Yeah, the sun goes like that. So, so even if there's no minyan in the city, a person should daven in the shul. Uvedoreinu, and in our generation, ba'avonosenu harabim, yesh kama v'kama balei batim, there are many people, afilu loimdim, even learned people, she'en yizharin b'zeh. They are not careful to do this. Vim shol in oso, and if you were to ask, yeah. Yeah, I know. Downstairs in the top shelf, there's a lot of sperm. Vim shol in os. We'll see. Vim shol in oso, and if you were to ask him, lama eno mispal bebeis haknesses, why don't you daven in shul? So, Dovi, what do you think he's going to answer? Yeah, ask people in general, why didn't you go to shul? What are they going to say? Right now, there's no minyan there. Either they missed minyan or there's no minyan. Heishiv, they'll answer, she'ein lahem minyan. There's no minyan. I'll go if there was a minyan there. I'll go to shul, but there's no minyan. V'hu eini yodea, he doesn't even know. Sha'af she'ein minyan bebeis haknesses tzarich leilech beis haknesses liyispal. Even if there's no minyan in shul, you still need to go to shul to daven. Okay. Now, what about women? But I don't know. V'zeh muchach mi Gemara mesechta brachos. Okay, I do remember learning that Gemara, but I do not remember the Gemara being this stark about it, which he's going to become extremely stark about it if he hasn't already. The Gemara Brachos says that a person should go to shul to daven. Kol mi sheyesh lo beis haknesses be'iro. The Gemara also says what he's about to say now. Anyone that has a shul in his city, v'lo nichnas lihispalul, he doesn't enter that shul to daven, nikra shachim. then there's no problem. Nikra Shachen Ra. If he doesn't enter to daven, he's called a Shachen Ra. He's called a bad neighbor. And we know in one of the Hiratzons that we say every morning, we ask Hashem to keep us far away from a Shachen Ra. And I always wondered in that Gemara, what does it mean? Does it mean you never go to the shul? Does it mean you... Yeah. Then you can't go. Then you can't go. And Dovi, these are all the questions. And these are all questions. There's a lot of questions on this. He's called a Shachin Rash. Wait, one second. I'm not saying this the halacha. I'm not saying we should follow what we're saying right now. The whole point of doing this is to figure out what is he trying to say. What is the halacha? Because this can't be the halacha. This can't be the halacha because we don't follow it. So I'm trying to figure out what is the halacha by reading it. There's women don't go to shul. According to what he's saying, women have to be in shul. And according to what he's saying, we're going to see that actually it almost sounds like if you're in a city without a shul, you should not daven. That's what it's going to sound like soon. So I'm telling you, we're trying to understand what he's saying. So once we understand what he's saying, then we could start to have questions. But so far, though, he hasn't said anything that pelagic. And of course, if it's a sakana to get to shul, you don't go to shul. Okay? For a child to walk to shul, that's a sakana. So a child would not be allowed to walk to shul. A child could daven in a base medrash is even a higher madriga than a shul. If you're learning Torah in your classroom, that classroom has the din of a base medrash that has more kedusha than a shul. So that could be one of the answers. It's probably better to daven in your classroom than to daven in a place which is just a shul. But realize a lot of the shuls in this neighborhood are also bati midrashim. Kins is just a base knesses, but the Aguda is a base medrash. Base knesses is a shul, a makom for davening. A base medrash is a place for learning and also davening. So a base medrash has more kedusha than a base knesses. So, Nemar says, the Gemara brings down the pasuk Lishmoa El Harina El Hatfila B'Makom Rina Sham De Tfila. In the place of Rina, happiness, that's where there should be tefillah. V'chol Adam Yoide Al HaEmes, and this is a pelagic thing, what he's saying here, and this is why I would want to look it up myself, because sometimes when you're reading something that's quoting something else, you could have a word that's changed that changes everything. But V'chol Adam Yoide Al HaEmes, and anyone who admits the truth, Shekol Hagzeres Ve'atzaros Ba Ba'avonostena Harab Nisav Nish'ena Mispal Basic Knesset will know that all the decrees and sufferings that have come upon our people, Klal Yisrael, it's because they don't daven in shul. Okay, how in the world could he say that? What does that mean? Everyone who knows it. How do people know that? How does anybody know that? How does anybody know that the reason why all of this stuff is happening is because people don't daven in shul? And this is the first time I've ever heard of it. Nobody's ever told it to me up until now. The Hosefi Adzom V'Kasav, and he writes, V'chol Adam Yamin Shehadalos V'Yikros V'Misos Banov Chas V'Shalom Boim LaAdam Ve'ein Lo Atzlach V'Masa Umatan Shalom. Every person could be maimin, could be trusted to say that poverty and happenstance and death of children, chas v'shalom, comes to a person, and there's no hatzlacha in their business. Okay, somehow he's connecting the two. There's something that's not clear here. There's something missing. But v'rai l'chach min haTorah. The proof for all this is from the Torah. Shelo yadua she'tefillah hi b'makom carbon. Because don't we know that tefillah is instead of a carbon, instead of sacrifices? Uva carbon, even by carbon, it's written. In Vayikra, he says Yud Gimel, but really it's Yud Zayin. The end of Pasuk Gimel, and Dal Isha Sher Yishchat Nichutz L'Machana. A man who shechts outside the camp, the Nichras Aishahu. If you don't bring it to the Ohel Moed, a person who shechts an animal, he's Chayv Kares. He gets premature death. The HaKarbon Bal L'Shedim. And the carbon that he brings goes to the demons. Rashi, the pasuk itself says Seirim, it says goats, but Rashi tells us it means demons. Onkelos tells us it means demons. Why would the Torah use the word demon, the word sa'ir, a goat, for demon? So there's different pshatim on that. Some say that because both of them are similar in their restlessness. Okay? Like it's written, Lo yizbuchu la'seirim. And nowadays, nowadays, where the Beis Knesses takes place, so the Beis Hamikdash, that tefillah he b'makom carbon, and tefillah is instead of a carbon. V'im kein, and so kashem shar carbon and nishcha b'chutz haya onish kares, just like a carbon which is shechted outside. The punishment is kares, is premature death. They are carbon halach l'shedim, and that carbon goes to the demons. Av achshav, so too now, but tefillah kain in our davening, v'lachein, and therefore in our davening. I'm reading the words, trying to come up with the pshat, because what's he trying to say? That we shouldn't daven? And what exactly are the tefillah goes to the shedim? What does that mean? What tefillah goes to the shedim? We're supposed to be, whatever we do. The Gemara Brachos says even someone who steals, even a ganav should daven before they go into the house for hatzlacha from Hashem. Even a ganav should do that. What does that mean? So maybe it means the shmona. Maybe it means the part of tefillah that the Anshe Knesses Hagadola was mesakein, which is taka instead of a carbon. I mean, Pesukah de Zimra is not instead of a carbon, as far as I know. Maybe Mizmor Lesoda is. That might be instead of the carbon Toda, the Mizmor Lesoda. But that's a kapitel in Tehillim. So, are we saying you're not allowed to say Mizmor Lesoda outside of a shul? What about maybe it means all the karbanos? The karbanos, maybe that's taka why we don't say karbanos. Many people don't say karbanos, even in shul. Maybe because we're worried if you start to say karbanos, then you're going to end up saying karbanos even at home. But all of this is a pel. Are you not allowed to learn mishnayos about karbanos? Because when you learn about karbanos, we're told it's as if you brought a carbon. I mean, that just it doesn't fit. So this is the strangest thing. That tefillah he b'makom carbon v'im ken kshem shar carbon nishcha b'chutz haya onesh kares ve'ar carbon halach l'shedim af achsha b'tefillah kain. So too by tefillah it's the same thing. M'lachein therefore tzarich li yos b'beis hakneses. It's necessary for the tefillah to be done in shul or b'makom kavua, or a makom kavua shehu doime lebeis hakneses, or a makom kavua which is doime, which is similar to a beis hakneses. If someone davens b'yichidus in his house, azay mevi at tefillah dogemes a carbon l'shedim. That tefillah is similar to a carbon that's brought to a demon. Okay, we have to think about what in the world is going on here. The chayiv gam kares bar minin. The person's also chayiv, that's premature death. V'imhu chay, and if he's living, av shemispal o kama pa'amim bebeso, even though he's davened many times in his house, azay yorei min achasov, he's going to lose his property, chas v'shalom. V'ani, because an ani is chashuv kemes, and ani is considered like he's dead. O shabanav mesim b'chayev, chas v'shalom. The gam kain chashuv kemes, someone whose children die, the person's also considered like a mace. There are roids to the yizaher midala, it's one who wants to be careful from poverty. Ya'asalo makum kavua, he should make for himself a set place, af b'yishuv, even in the place where he dwells, l'yispalo tamid b'makom echad. Yeah? Yeah, soon. But we want to figure this out over here. So let's just use partial common sense. It obviously can't mean that a person's not allowed to daven outside of. Let's say davening. What does davening mean? To pray, to ask Hashem for help. It can't possibly mean that a person's not allowed to do that outside of shul. If that was the case, then we're really stuck. Throughout the day, we wouldn't be allowed to do anything. So what we have to do is figure out what part of tefillah is established to be, instead of a carbon, what part of the tefillah, meaning the chakras is a very long davening, what part of it is connected carbon, and if a person isn't able to go to shul, what does he recommend? Initially, what does he recommend? Because it sounds like the person's better off not davening according to him. If you're not able to have a makom kavua, you're not in a situation where you could have a makom kavua. So if you go ahead and you, it's like bringing a car. If you don't bring a carbon outside the Beis Hamikdash, it's just don't bring the carbon altogether. But the pasuk actually says, the psukim that he's quoting from actually says that the person is chayiv misa. If a person kills an animal, but to bring outside the Ol Moed so according to Rabbi Yishmael, the Jews in the Midbar were never allowed to eat meat. Therefore, if they shecht this animal, anything which is to be shechted and not brought as a carbon, it's like they spilled blood, and it's like they killed a person, and they're chayiv in the same way. And according to Rabbi Akiva, they were allowed to eat meat, but even in that case, if the carbon's not brought in the proper way, it's like shvichas damim. They're chayiv kar. A tremendous chiddush over there. It's in Parshas Achrei Mos, and the point of all this again is just to think. The point of all this is to think and try to figure it out, because it's a pelagic thing what he's saying. But at the very end, first of all, we have to figure out who he is. But at the very end, okay, he says one who wants to be careful from poverty, he should make himself a makom kavua. Okay, so make yourself a makom kavua. The Gemara says to make a makom kavua, to go ahead and connect it to all of these things, all of these horrific punishments, and to say that v'chol adam yoide al ha'emes shekol ha'gzeres ve'atzaros ba'ba avanosenu harabim lisor b'nishe'enem yispal mebeis knesses. What do you mean? You have to be a Navi to know this. So I have a ton of questions on this, and I wonder if it's even being quoted properly, and I would like to know who he is. Echol adam yamin shadalas v'ikros Mrs. Beis techashalom baim lo adam ve'ein lo hatzlacha b'masa umatan shelo. So we see, it would. Sometimes we see the importance of davening, but over here, it's like we see the importance of. It's hard to know what to do with this. It's very hard to know what to do with this. So we leave off with a big kasha, and that's how we're leaving off right now. And in Yirtz Hashem, in the schus of maybe there'll be one other person who might think of these questions. And in the schus of that, maybe we'll get a teretz. Kodesh Baruch Hu will guide us to figure something out. Tonight we start Vav Elul. So, and today is Yom Revi'i. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the fourth. We're going to look at the fourth Aliyah. of this week's Parsha. Let's see what we could find over there. Our Parsha's Kiseitze. So today corresponds to the fourth Aliyah. And we said before, there's a Masorah from Moshe Shapiro that all of the current events going on in the world, everything could be found in the days of Aliyah. That's a little bit hard for us to do. He was able to do it. But let's see if we're able to connect it, the learning somehow. Let's go to the fourth Aliyah. And here we go. I'm going to read it in English. Do not despise the Edomite, since he is your brother. Because Edomites are the descendants of Esav. So he's our brother. Do not despise the Egyptian, since you are an immigrant in his land. Therefore, children born to members of these nations in the third generation after becoming Gerim, they may enter God's marriage group. After the third generation, not Gerim, Banim asher yivadu lehem dur shlishi yavu lehem, they could enter the Kahal Hashem after the third generation. When you go out as a camp against your enemies, you must avoid everything evil. The usual immorality that is prevalent in an army camp. Also excessive cruelty. Those are things that have to be avoided. Therefore, if a man is unclean because of a nocturnal emission, he's a Balkari. You should guard yourself mikol davar ra, from anything ra, anything evil. So if there isn't a person who's not tahor because of keri that happened at night, he must leave the camp and he must remain outside. And towards evening, he must immerse in a mikvah. And then when the sun sets, he can enter the camp. You must designate a place outside the camp to use as a bathroom. You must designate a place outside the camp to use as a bathroom, and that means even to go number one. According to the Gemara Brachos, Taf Chaf Hey Amud Aleph. V'yaseh tihi alacha, a spade. You must also keep a spike al azeinecha with your weapons. V'haya b'shiftecha, so that when you have to sit down, chutz, outside, v'chafartava, you dig it, v'shavta, you sit, v'chisisa etz tzeasecha, and you cover up whatever came out of your body. Ki, because Hashem Elokecha mis'alach b'kerev machanecha, Hashem your God walks in the midst of your camp, lehatzilcha, to shade you, to protect you, v'laseis oivecha lefanecha, and to place your enemies before you. V'haya machanecha kadosh, your camp should be holy. V'lo yiravecha ervas davar, there should not be amongst you any type of erva davar, which is any type of nakedness, because God, your Lord, makes His presence known in your camp so as to deliver you and grant you victory over your enemy. Your camp must therefore be holy. Let him not see anything among you and turn away from you. Erva means some type of nakedness, but davar v'shab me'acharecha, and then he would turn away from you. So let that not happen. V'lo sasker eved el adonov. This is about sheltering slaves. If a slave seeks refuge with you from his master, you must not turn him back over to his master. Lo saskir eved el adonov lo asher yinatzel elecha me'im adonov. I think you could also say anytime someone comes to you, they put their trust in you, they confide in you, so you should not betray that trust. That's what I think. That even if ordinarily someone who did XYZ, whatever the thing is, the normal response would be ABC. But if the information, you know the information because they confide in you, I I believe they are to be treated differently. But it said, perhaps it's learned from this pasuk, I don't know. If a slave seeks refuge with you from his master, you must not turn him back over to his master. He must be allowed to live alongside you wherever he chooses in your settlements. You must do nothing to hurt his feelings. Losasker eved el adonov asher yinatzu elechem im adonov. Imcha, with you, yeshe bekirbcha, he should dwell in your midst. B'makom asher yivchar, the place which he chooses. Ba'achat she'arecha batovlo, a place that is good for him. V'lo tonenu, and do not do anything to hurt his feelings. Lo siyeh kidesha mibenos Yisrael. There must be no prostitution amongst Klal Yisrael. It's interesting that the word for prostitute is kadesha, which is the same shorish as the word holy, but it means set aside from the benos Yisrael. V'lo yihiyeh kadesh b'bnei Yisrael, and there should be no male prostitutes either amongst Klal Yisrael. Lo savi esnan zona umechir kelev beis Hashem elokecha lecho neder. Do not bring a prostitute's fee or the price of a dog to the temple of God your Lord, since both are disgusting to Hashem. Ki to'eva, both of them are an abomination. So do not bring mechir kelev beis Hashem elokecha lecho neder, for any neder. Ki to'av vas Hashem elokecha gam shneim, because these two things are an abomination. You should not bring the fee of a zona. That could mean the money, a person made a certain amount of money. You could say, I think also stolen money should not be donated to a shul. And the shul shouldn't use it. But do not bring, or the price of a dog, do not bring. Maybe it means selling a dog that a person shouldn't have in the first place. I don't know. Maybe there's something else that means lechol neder. Both of these things are a toeva. Lo sashich lachicha neshech. You should not charge any ribis. There should not be any interest. Interest is called neshech. It's called because it bites. Neshech means to bite. It bites into a person. Kesef noshach ochel. Do not deduct advance interest from your brother, whether it is interest for money, interest for food, interest for anything else for which interest is normally taken. Although you may take such interest from you may not do so from your brother. If you keep this rule, Hashem will bless you in all your endeavors on the land to which you are coming to occupy. When you make a pledge to Hashem, do not be late in paying it, since Hashem will then demand it and you will have committed a sin. If you refrain from making vows completely, then you will not sin. So it's telling us it's best you don't make any nedarim. But when you have spoken, be careful of your word and keep the pledge that you have vowed to God your Lord. That's the end of the Aliyah. Just one little footnote here from it. Specifically, if the slave of a Jew escapes to the Holy Land, that case in particular, you do not send him back. Some also include a circumcised slave who escapes from a different master. In regards to prostitutes, according to some, this includes all forms of premarital intercourse. That's a chiddush over here. That would be an Isser de Oraisa. Others say that this only prohibits intercourse with a true prostitute. According to others, this is primarily a prohibition against a woman having premarital intercourse. Others say that it is a commandment incumbent on the courts and the community leaders. When it says do not be late in paying, if you make a pledge to God, do not be late in paying it. You have up to the 3 festivals. So if you make the pledge before Pesach, you have to pay it by the day after Simchas Torah. You have 6 or 7 months to pay it. If you make the pledge the day after Simchas Torah in October, you have a whole year to pay it. Okay, we end off with that. May everyone have a Shtarka Elul and be Matzliach and all that everyone does. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless everyone with a tzlacha rabba and everything. Kol tov.